Have you ever been there? That moment, you're maybe at a new job or a networking event or just meeting someone totally new,
Mhm.
and suddenly you hear it. So tell us a little about yourself.
Yep, that question.
And just like that, this little panic sets in. Your mind just goes blank, right? Or maybe a million thoughts race through, but none of them seem to form a good sentence.
Yeah.
In English, anyway.
Oh, yeah. It's like trying to park a car perfectly when you've only just figured out the steering wheel.
Exactly.
It's a really relatable feeling, though, that bit of hesitation before you speak. But the good news, the really fantastic news, is it doesn't have to be that way. It's definitely a skill you can master.
You got it. So welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into it, mastering your English self-introduction.
Mhm.
We've pulled together, well, just a fantastic stack of sources, articles, research, expert tips, covering pretty much everything from, formal presentations
Right.
to just casual chats, those really crucial job interviews, even how you introduce yourself in an email.
Yeah, and our mission today really is to uncover the key strategies, maybe some powerful phrases, and even those subtle nonverbal things.
Ah, the body language stuff.
Exactly. The things that will help you make a really strong, confident, and hopefully memorable first impression. We want to give you the tools to kind of sidestep the common mistakes and genuinely connect with whoever you're meeting.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Why? Why do introductions actually matter so much?
Well, it kind of boils down to something pretty fascinating in psychology called the primacy effect.
Primacy effect. What's
Yeah, it's
that?
basically a cognitive bias. It means the first piece of information you get about someone, that's often way easier to remember.
Ah,
And it really colors how you interpret everything else they say or do later on. So that initial intro, it really sets the stage.
wow. And how quick are we talking here? Because it feels instant sometimes.
It practically is. The research is actually captivating on this. It shows it takes maybe just a tenth of a second.
10 of a second.
Yeah, just from seeing someone's face to form a basic impression.
Mm.
And for like an overall judgment, we're talking maybe 7 seconds.
7 seconds. That's
Yeah.
that's nothing. Less time than choosing a song, like you said before we started recording.
Exactly. It's not a lot of time to make your mark, is it?
Not at all. But it makes me wonder, if it's that quick, how much is actually about the words we say versus, well, everything else?
That's a great point.
I mean, the research does say, thankfully, that even if you kind of flub the first impression,
It's not fatal.
right, it's not the end of the world. You can improve it later with positive interactions, but still, making a strong start, it just seems invaluable, doesn't it? Like getting a head start.
Absolutely. And that brings us right to the core of it. That strong start goes way beyond just your words.
Okay.
The insights we looked at really emphasize that body language. Well, it counts for an estimated 70% of communication.
70%. Wow.
Yeah. So what your body is saying can often be, way more impactful than what's actually coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
It's like your silent superpower.
Okay, so what are some of those key nonverbal things? What sends a strong signal?
Well, a genuine smile, for starters.
Yeah.
That's pretty universal, right?
Yeah.
Makes you seem open,
Yeah.
friendly.
Non-threatening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's eye contact. You want it to be consistent, but definitely not staring. Just a comfortable, engaged kind of gaze.
Okay.
And posture matters too. Maintaining an open, relaxed posture. Think, back straight but not stiff, shoulders relaxed.
It signals you're approachable, maybe. Open to talking.
Precisely. It invites them in.
And the handshake. That feels like a big one, especially professional.
Oh, definitely. In professional settings, it's crucial. You want a firm handshake, not bone-crushing, obviously,
Right.
but firm, brief. Always use your right hand. A quick up and down, maybe twice. It just conveys confidence, respect.
But not always appropriate, right? You mentioned the UK earlier.
Good point. Yeah, context is key. Casually, especially meeting someone new in the UK, a handshake might feel a bit formal or odd.
Okay.
And you definitely want to avoid things like cheek kissing unless you know someone really well. A simple wave or even just a warm nod often works better in those casual spots.
Interesting. And you mentioned appearance before, too, the halo effect.
Yeah.
How much weight does that carry? Like, if my clothes aren't perfect, am I sunk?
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
The halo effect is real-looking, say, well-prepared or neatly dressed, can make people assume other positive things about you, like you're competent or trustworthy. It kind of opens a door, but it's not the only thing. Authenticity and how you actually interact over time.
Yeah.
That can definitely shift perceptions, even if the first visual wasn't, perfect. It's not game over.
Okay, that's reassuring. And then there's the voice itself, right? Not just the words.
Exactly. Paralinguistics. It's not just what you say, but how you say it. Your tone, your pitch, the volume, the inflection.
How fast or slow you talk.
Yep, that too. Varying these things makes you sound more interesting, more engaging, and often more confident.
How so?
Well, for instance, speaking at a slightly slower, more measured pace, and maybe a bit louder, with clear volume. That often comes across as more confident, more authoritative than speaking really fast and quietly.
Right, makes sense.
So we're building this picture, right, from the ground up.
Mhm.
Your silent signals, how you look, how you sound.
Okay.
And this all ties really neatly into this idea of your personal brand.
Personal brand. Okay, that sounds a bit like marketing jargon. What does it actually mean here?
It sounds like it, but it's useful. Think of it as your unique voice,
Mm.
or maybe a theme. It's about articulating what makes you different, what distinguishes your skills, your experiences. It's the essence of what you bring to the table.
Okay. So how do you figure that out? How do you define it? It sounds kind of abstract.
It's less about inventing something and more about discovering what's already there. It involves asking yourself some questions.
Yeah.
Internally, you might ask, okay, how do I want people to see me? Or what's the main thing I want them to remember? And externally, you think, well, how do my colleagues usually describe me? Or what kind of feedback have I gotten from bosses?
Ah, okay. Using past feedback.
Exactly. The answers start to form a pattern. Maybe you consistently hear you're a great problem solver who makes complex things clear. Then, clarity and complexity might be part of your brand statement.
I see. And this is especially important professionally.
Hugely important,
Hmm.
especially in things like job interviews, networking, places where you need to communicate your value quickly.
Okay. So we've got this foundation now, first impressions, nonverbals, this idea of a personal brand. The next logical step for a lot of us is, okay, what do I actually say?
Right. Let's get practical.
Let's break down the core elements. What are the absolute must-haves?
Well, the basic building blocks are actually pretty simple. You need a polite greeting, obviously.
Oh.
You state your name,
Yeah.
and then you briefly explain what you do. That's the core. Adding maybe a little personal touch, like an interest or a hobby, that's optional, but it can definitely make you more relatable, more human.
Okay. And for the name part, any specific phrases?
Yeah, common ones are just, my name is name, or maybe you can call me nickname if you prefer one, or even everyone calls me nickname title.
And using first and last name.
Good question. In business settings, definitely use both your first and last name. And a really good tip, especially if your name is maybe uncommon or tricky for English speakers, is to slow down just a little when you say it.
Ah, give them a chance to catch it.
Exactly. Gives them time to process and hopefully remember it.
Okay, makes sense. And talking about what you do, how specific should you be?
There are some clear structures you can use. I'm an occupation, like I'm a software developer. Or I work as a occupation.
Okay.
You could say, I work in the industry, like I work in finance. Or maybe focus on responsibility. I'm responsible for responsibility, like I'm responsible for marketing campaigns, or I manage department project. The absolute key here, though, is be concise. Resist that temptation to give your entire job description or resume.
Yeah, guilty of that sometimes.
We all are. Just give the headline. Let the other person ask for more details if they're actually interested.
Okay. Can you mention your company?
Oh, absolutely. You could say, I work for company name, or I've been with company name for amount of time. You could even mention briefly where it is or what the company does if it helps add context. Like, I work for Tech Corp. We make educational software.
Got it. Concise is key.
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly into the idea of the elevator pitch.
Ah, yes, the famous elevator pitch.
It's not just some fancy term. It's actually a really useful tool. Think of it as a super concise summary, like 1 or 2 sentences max.
Okay.
And it covers your unique strengths, your skills, and this is crucial how you can actually benefit the listener or their organization.
So it's about the value you offer.
Precisely. It's fantastic for networking, job fairs, any situation where you've only got maybe 30 seconds to make an impression and communicate your value.
Right. Do we have some examples?
We do. Imagine someone saying, I'm a certified Salesforce administrator. I help businesses streamline their processes and use data to actually drive better outcomes.
Punchy. Clear benefit.
Right. Or, I'm an adjunct professor in creative writing. I teach aspiring authors how to find their voice, shape compelling stories, and navigate the path to publication.
Nice.
Or even a student. I'm a third-year marine biology student really passionate about water conservation, and I'm currently researching new methods for reducing plastic pollution in coastal areas.
Okay, I see. They all immediately tell you what the person does and what they care about, what kind of value they might bring.
Exactly. Punchy, value-driven, tells the listener what you're about.
Beyond the pitch, though, is there room for stories?
Oh, absolutely. Storytelling can be incredibly effective
Okay.
and really personable.
Why stories?
Well, think about it. Stories are just inherently human, aren't they? They're engaging. They're much more memorable than just listing facts. They can articulate complex ideas quite efficiently. And crucially, they build trust. They make you seem approachable, authentic. You're drawing someone into your world, even just for a moment.
Are we talking like full-on narratives, beginning, middle, end?
Not necessarily. Think about micro stories,
Hmm.
like under 50 words. They don't need a traditional plot.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Maybe something personal. A quick, humorous anecdote about a mistake you made or a saying your grandmother used to have that kind of shaped how you see things.
Like my grandmother used to say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Something like that.
Exactly like that. It reveals a little piece of you, your perspective. It's not just conveying data, it's making a human connection, something that might actually stick with someone.
That's a really nice way to think about it. Okay, so we have the words, maybe a story, but context matters, right? Formal versus informal.
Hugely important. Getting the tone wrong can be,
Yeah.
well, awkward. So the distinction is pretty key. Formal settings usually mean more polished language, maybe a more serious tone, often using titles. Think professional contexts, conferences, important meetings, job interviews.
Right. Business attire, maybe.
Often, yeah. Whereas informal settings are much more relaxed. Casual language, friendly tone. This is for friends, family, maybe casual networking drinks, social events.
Okay, so let's talk informal first. What are the go-to greetings?
You can use light, friendly stuff. Hey, hi. Or depending on the time, good morning, good afternoon.
What about what's up?
That's very casual. Usually best reserved for people you already know quite well, like close friends. Maybe not for a first meeting.
Got it. And after the greeting, it's usually how are you?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's the standard follow-up.
Yeah.
Or variations like, how's it going? What's new? Lots of options there.
But there are cultural traps here, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. This is
Yeah.
where you need to be aware. In the UK, for example, how are you is often just part of the greeting, like a verbal handshake.
So you don't give a long answer?
Generally, no. A simple, fine, thanks, you, or good, thanks, is usually enough. Launching into a detailed account of your day might be a bit unexpected.
Okay. And the U.S.?
Our sources suggest it's a bit different. Some say don't ask how are you, unless you genuinely suspect they might be unwell or you actually want a detailed answer. They might take it literally.
Interesting nuance.
It is. And generally for new acquaintances, especially maybe in more reserved cultures like the UK, it's usually best to avoid expressing very negative feelings or oversharing personal problems right away. Keep it light initially.
Okay. So after how are you, what kind of questions are normal informally?
Pretty standard stuff. Where someone lives, maybe,
Oh.
are you from around here? What they do for work or study? What they like, their interests.
What about family, age?
Generally best to avoid those topics unless the other person brings them up or invites the question. They can be sensitive areas for some people. Stick to safer ground initially.
Good advice. And you mentioned a pro tip for social situations, choosing one thing.
Yeah, this is really helpful. In a social setting, like a party or an event, try to introduce yourself with one thing that immediately helps the other person connect or find common ground.
Like what?
Could be how you know the host. Hi, I'm Sarah. I know John from work. Or maybe something you're enjoying about the event. Hi, I'm Mike. This band is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or if you're at, say, a school thing. Hi, I'm Fatima. My daughter's in year 3.
It gives them an easy way to respond. Something concrete to latch onto.
Exactly. It just smooths the start of the conversation. Makes it less generic.
Okay, switching gears. Formal introductions. How do they differ?
More structure, more politeness. Often using titles Mr., Miss, Doctor, Professor.
Okay.
Phrases like, may I introduce you to, or it's a pleasure to introduce, are common when introducing other people.
What about introducing yourself? Can you say, please allow me to introduce myself?
You can, but honestly, it often sounds too formal, especially one-on-one. A simple, polite, hello, I'm first name, last name, is usually perfectly fine and more natural, even in many formal settings.
Good to know. And responding to, how are you? Formally.
Keep it short and polite. I am fine, thank you. And how are you? Or, very well, thank you. No need for extensive detail.
Right. And the typical questions in formal, maybe professional settings.
They often focus more on your background, education. Where did you study? What was your degree in? Work experience. What relevant experience do you have? Could you tell me about your role at?
So it's focused on qualifications, capabilities.
Exactly. It's usually about understanding your professional background and suitability for something, whether it's a job, a project, a collaboration.
Okay. And just as important as ending the conversation gracefully.
Definitely. You don't want to just trail off awkwardly.
So casual goodbyes.
Lots of options. See you later. Take it easy. It was nice chatting. Don't be a stranger. Keep it light and friendly.
And professional goodbyes.
Usually a bit more structured. It was lovely to meet you. Goodbye. Or, especially after an interview, thank you for your time. Goodbye. You might also quickly recap a next step if there is one.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, let's talk about avoiding those cringy moments. The common mistakes.
Ah, yes, the pitfalls.
First up, you mentioned the information overload trap.
Yes, this is a big one. Our sources were really clear. Like 90% of the time, just your name and maybe one or two other key facts are plenty to start.
Just the highlights.
Exactly. Don't give them a laundry list of everything you've ever done. Don't recite your life story. Let them ask for more if they want it. It's about sparking interest, not drowning them in detail.
Okay. And the opposite mistake, being too formal.
Right. We touched on this, using something like, please allow me to introduce myself at a casual coffee morning or a friend's BBQ. It just sounds out of place.
Yeah,
Steph.
keep it simple. Hi, I'm Name.
Exactly. Much more inviting, much more natural for those settings.
Now, grammar glitches, these can trip people up. What are some common ones?
Okay, one we see a lot is, I'm come from. Like, I'm come from Spain.
Ah, yeah.
The correct ways are either I am from Spain or I come from Spain. Use am or come, but not both together like that.
Got it. What else?
Another is describing your job. You can't really say my job is a teacher.
Sounds a bit off.
Yeah. Use the active voice. I am a teacher, or I work as a teacher.
Okay. And education, something about graduated.
Right. People sometimes say I'm graduated from. That's incorrect. The correct phrasing is I graduated from university, past tense, or you can just say I went to university, or I studied at university.
Simple fixes, but important.
Definitely makes you sound more fluent.
Okay, what about hobbies? Is my hobby is wrong?
It's not technically wrong, but our research suggests it can sound a little childish. Or maybe just a bit rigid, like you only have one officially designated hobby.
Okay, so what's better?
It sounds more natural and conversational to say things like, I like, I enjoy, or I'm into.
Right.
And another tip here, if your hobby is quite general, like shopping or watching TV, try adding a specific detail. It makes it more interesting, more you.
So instead of I like shopping, maybe I like shopping for a vintage vinyl record.
Exactly. Or instead of I enjoy watching TV, maybe I'm really into watching documentaries about space exploration. Adds personality.
Nice tip. And one more specific confusion. Siblings.
Ah, yes, the sibling count. This is a common misunderstanding. If you say, I have 2 siblings,
That means your parents have 3 kids in total, including you.
no. That's the confusion. It means you have 2 other people who are your brothers and older sisters. You don't count yourself in the number you state.
Ah. So if my parents have 2 kids, me and my sister, I should say I have 1 sibling.
Precisely. It's a subtle point of English, but causes confusion.
Good to clarify. Okay, any other general don'ts we should keep in mind?
Yeah, a few broad ones. First, don't use the exact same introduction for every single situation. Context is everything. Tailor it.
Right.
Avoid complaining or being negative, especially right at the start. First impressions.
Keep it positive.
Generally, yes. Also, don't shy away from the spotlight when it's your turn. Deliver your intro with confidence. Make that eye contact. Exactly. And a huge one in the modern age.
Yeah.
Don't check your phone while someone is introducing themselves or while you're talking.
Oh, yeah. Big no-no. Signals total disinterest.
Totally.
Yeah.
Always be mindful of those cultural differences we talked about, even with simple things like handshakes or personal space.
Okay.
And finally, try not to ramble. Practice keeping it concise. Brevity is your friend here.
Excellent points. So we've got the basics, the contexts, the mistakes. What about specific, maybe high-pressure scenarios?
Right. Let's look at a few key ones. Presentations, for example.
Okay, introducing yourself before you speak to a group. How should that work?
There's a pretty simple structure you can follow. Kind of an easy as 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
1. Introduce yourself and welcome the audience. 2. Clearly state the purpose or main topic of your presentation. 3. Give a very short overview of what you're going to cover, like the main points.
Simple. But how do you make it engaging, not just dry facts?
Good question. You can grab attention right away. Maybe do or say something a bit shocking or surprising. Did you know that? Followed by a relevant, startling statistic.
Okay, hooks them in.
Or tell a very short, relevant story that connects to your topic. Or you could even ask the audience to participate somehow. A quick show of hands, a thought-provoking question related to the topic, makes it interactive from the start.
Nice ideas. Okay, what about the big one? Job interviews.
The high-stakes intro.
Definitely. How do we tailor all this advice for that specific moment?
Okay, number one, tailor. Your intro must connect to the specific job description and, if you can figure it out, the company culture.
Do your homework.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Body language here is paramount. Sit up straight, good eye contact, that firm handshake we talked about when you meet them. It screams professionalism. You can even think about starting with a unique opener, maybe highlighting a key achievement or a trait that's super relevant to the role they're hiring for.
Stand out a bit.
Gently, yes. And when they inevitably ask, tell me about yourself, that's your prime time.
Right. The classic question.
Use it to show off your problem-solving skills. Maybe use the STAR method. Remember that. Situation, task, action, result.
Tell a mini story of success.
Exactly. Frame an accomplishment concisely. And try to connect your own career goals or your passion to the company's mission or their core values. Show you've thought about why this company, this role.
Show genuine interest and alignment.
Yes. And again, keep it brief overall. Think elevator pitch length. Focus only on the most relevant qualifications and experiences that make you a great fit for that job.
Our sources mention a personal brand framework for interviews.
Yeah, it's a neat way to structure your thoughts for that tell me about yourself question. It goes, who am I? Professionally speaking. Why am I here? Meaning, why this specific role, this specific company? What can I offer? What's my unique value proposition for them? And finally end with something like, and I'd love to learn more about it, showing your engagement and eagerness.
That's a great structure. Okay, one more scenario. Email introductions.
Increasingly common, right? Often your very first contact.
Definitely. So what makes a good email intro?
Several key elements. First, a strong, catchy subject line. Make them actually want to open it, not just introduction or hello.
Be specific.
Yes. Then, a professional greeting, but try to tailor it a bit. If you can gauge the recipient's personality, slightly more formal or slightly less.
Okay.
Your self-introduction needs to be crystal clear and super concise. 1 or 2 sentences, max. Who are you and why are you writing?
Get straight to the point.
Absolutely. Include a clear value proposition, what's in it for them to read this or connect with you. Then, a specific call to action. What do you want them to do next? Reply. Schedule a call. Visit a link.
Make it easy for them.
Exactly. And finish with a professional sign-off. Sincerely, best regards, followed by your name and maybe key contact info or LinkedIn profile.
And this applies to different kinds of emails, job applications, networking.
Yes, the basic structure holds. We saw great examples for job applications, asking about open positions, sending LinkedIn connection requests, general professional networking outreach, even just asking a coworker you don't know well for a small favor. The core principles are the same.
And a tip about language in emails.
Yeah, a nice one was to try and infuse more vibrant language. Instead of just saying you're a leader, maybe use pioneer if it fits. Instead of excited, maybe enthusiastic. Instead of just working with, maybe collaborate.
Adds a bit more flair, makes it stand out.
Exactly. Helps your email feel less generic in a crowded inbox.
Okay, fantastic. We've covered a ton of ground here.
We really have.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, what are the absolute key takeaways people should remember?
I think number 1, preparation. Whenever possible, think about your introduction beforehand. Don't just wing it.
Okay, prepare.
2, understand the context. Is it formal? Informal? A presentation? An email? Adapt your approach accordingly.
Context is king.
Absolutely. 3, don't underestimate nonverbal